Hello everyone, this is Pocky Plays, and today I have a nice game featuring Master Nguyen, or the Panda hero, and we got a Spicy Pretzel Mustard, the achievement that comes with winning every combat in a game and can be considered basically the most perfect game you can have. Rather than just playing back the entire game, I decided I would voice over it and explain my reasoning and rationale for my decisions. So here's the game. So we start on hero selection here. It's a very quick Panda pick for me. I have 100% pick rate on this hero. Our stream is Panda themed, so easy pick. We always take the Panda here. As we see our first shop, we see a Murloc Tidehunter, so we're going to get presented our hero choice. It's an easy Hucktails here for me because it actually generates a minion on our board. So we're able to hero power over Malagos, which just swaps it. We don't get great options. We take a Chroma Wing here. But it's just sort of the best tempo. If we stay down on one, it can gain some attack. It can be strong in that way and provide some tempo. In this game, I believe Pirates, Ellies, and Demons are missing. So there are both tokens in, so it's an option, but we don't necessarily know that we're staying on one, but it's an idea that the Warrior Curve might be an option here. As we come to this shop, we get Daryl hero power, which is way too good to pass up. With 2 tokens in the shop, it's a lot of stats that we're able to put onto our board very early on in the game. We take the Alley Cat, just because it's the worst minion on the board. We sell so that we're able to buy our other token. We grab this Tidehunter, and then we will sell 3 to really stack up this mummy and have an extremely strong tempo board, almost probably stronger than any other hero can create on this turn, the exception being Daryl himself, of course. From here, we have a sort of shift in our decisions on how we're going to play at this game. Because we have such a strong tempo board, rather than staying on one, because we've reduced the number of minions on our board, it's probably going to be in our interest to level here. So with that in mind, we're going to grab the Lich King hero power, and we're looking at that token as a nice way to sort of play a Jeeve curve, potentially selling the main body, going up, and hero powering. The reason we sell the main body is, of course, if we hit Khadgar and a token later, that can be a triple, especially because we have a board space with less minions on our board. Because we were down econ and we weren't presented pairs in the shop, staying down for a Warrior curve or a Farm curve is less appealing, and just leveraging our strength to level is really my game plan here. So we take another win, of course, and on to our next turn. Here we get presented Gallywix, which is a very easy pick. I don't think I pick it because I'm looking at chat. But with the token in shop, we're able to make money with Gallywix hero power this turn and still continue on our level. We do sell out of a Tabby Cat pair, but we will get that money back next turn, which adds a lot of flexibility to that turn. Here we see Bran has hit a very early Bran, along with a lot of tokens. So we'll be on the lookout. That could be something that's scary later. In Beast Murloc lobbies from the start, at the end game, what you're looking at is probably poison boards. So keep that in mind as we continue down this game. Here we get presented with Rafam hero power with 10 gold available. There's a few options. You could level by and grab Greyboat and take the Bronze Warden and go to 4 early. But I like the stability of grabbing multiple shields here, being able to use this econ because it's a little safer because saving that gold is more flexible. Next turn we still have some options open depending on what we steal, and we might be able to steal something useful from Shutterwalk if they've gotten some tokens down. Unfortunately they didn't, but we did steal a Necrolite, which is a 4-drop. Not typical to see Shutterwalk tripling into 4s, but this Shutterwalk did just because they didn't end up finding any of those tokens. So we have a Necrolite, which is great. It's a free 2/2 buff on anything that you'd like. And we find this shop, and this is a very interesting one. Reborn, of course, is very tempting. on the Thorncaller, but Zarella Hero Power, because we have 8 gold and level is 6, will allow us to level, fill our board, and get to tier 4 on 8 gold, which is a benchmark that in this meta I really like to get to. 4 is home of many, win conditions and very strong units, so getting there a turn before your standard curve does is very nice and appealing. And so we grab our gems, we play our Necrolite, buffing up this Bronze Warden just so we have another strong unit on board, not wanting to split the buffs with the Pup Bot just because it will make it easier to sell that unit later. Here we go against the Hook Tusk that's loaded up on tokens, 100% win. We've gotten super strong. Like I said, our early plays with the Daryl Hero Power, and then grabbing this Bronze Warden Pup Bot combo makes us really strong and not really able to lose, and it makes us able to level throughout this game very safely. Here we see a very amazing shop. Double checking Tess, of course. We did play Hook Tusk. It's a bunch of tokens, making sure there's not anything that we really want to steal for 1 gold, and there's not, because the shop that we're presented is quite good. So we take Maleficent Hero Power, getting our mechs that we're about to buy 1/1 each, and we see a direction finally starting to emerge. We see Shaker, we see the mechs, and the tank is sort of a backup plan here. So one thing that is a little weird is we want to buy 3, and so we're looking for what our sell is. Puppbot seems like a great target to put this menace on. However, with the tank, Puppbot doesn't really die, and it sort of, again, distributes our buffs and investment wider across our board. It makes it harder to sell things as we're trying to progress. So we decide to actually sell the Puppbot, able to get more upside from our Thorncaller and our Prophet of the Boar in the future turns to get more gems for our Shaker, putting Death Rattle on our Mummy for additional summons, and making a mech very big, because we also still have the option to potentially go an Eggum build depending on if we decide to level, which is always a potential possibility when you're playing Panda. Here in this fight, we see another easy win. And one thing that I mentioned here is that I don't actually want to kill the cookie, just because having the damage cap available is really nice. In a double token lobby, we see a Bran, we see a Scabs, we see a Shudderwock, and a Hook Tusk. There's a lot of other heroes that can potentially high roll, including ourselves, but we're a little worried about being able to take more than 15, lethaling this cookie at a very early turn 7 pace. Here we see an immediate payoff for consolidating our buffs on our Micro Mummy. Finding that module in the shop, grabbing Edwin Hero Power and a lot of solid buffs, hesitating on the mug, grabbing the Primal Fin instead because it is golden and will result in being more buffs for our Hero Power this turn. Now we do buy the mug with the gold working out well. We'll play through it, put the module on, play the jug, and then Hero Power our dragon. Again, trying to keep our focus on a select number of units, and of course, focusing them on the Divine Shield. Using 2 gems here just to be strong. We're pretty weak outside of our 2 units, so not needing to invest a ton, but this probably won't let us lose, and we keep a few gems in the future. Playing a bumper in the form of the jug, and again, rewarded for doing so. Unfortunately, our tank gets sniped, but with just too many stats and too much attack, we're able to get a clean victory here. Rafam's taking the turn to buff his Hydra using Budding Green Thumb, but we're fine with that because getting a win here just means we have more time to sort of progress our game plan. We see the speed at which this lobby is going. There's a lot of people low this turn. And now we go against Shutterwalk. I spy Scabs' hero power is really great. Shutterwalk's often grabbing triples. And we find a tank and a Nest Matron. We take the tank here because it's a pair. And Nest Matron with our setup is hard to get a lot of value from. It is a great card. Arguably the best card in the meta right now. But it has sort of limited upside with our Divine Shield taunt setup. And we see this Argus with an arm available. There's something there that we really like. So we grab this arm. We see the clunker and we decide that it is worth it. So we're going to buy it, buff our mummy, and then grab this arm. The clunker is worth it because it gives it some health. The attack is going to be good. And so then we can get more buffs on this mummy in the long term as we play this arm. This is important because, again, we know from the get-go that our end game goal is to sort of be poisons or have divine shields to beat those poisons, right? So the Reborn Myexnas, the Murloc poisons, that's sort of what we're looking to beat. And Divine Shield arm is still very good at being able to contest those in the late game, as Divine Shields do negate the effects of poison. Here we see just that happen as the Spore goes into our Bronze Warden, isn't able to have much impact, and we have a 100% chance to lethal this Shutterwalk on turn 9, which is very great because they have 2 Witchwing Nest Matrons trying to milk some value there, but unfortunately you don't get to use the cards when you're dead. So we move on to turn 10. Looking for this triple tank is going to be a high priority for us. Panda's interesting in that you can also find Zephyr's hero power, things of that nature. We find Vol'jin hero power, which is going to have a lot more value just because we don't have a lot of plans to sell a lot of things this turn. So we'll take our opportunity to take our stats off of this Murloc Tidehunter, playing our gems first, I believe, so that we can get some attack as we swap it onto our tank, thus making the attack boost permanent on these units and making our tank a more relevant unit as we triple. And then we're going to go for a 6 here, just because there's a lot of upside on 6 for us, in the form of Buster, maybe an Amalgadon, something like that. We end up finding a Myexna and decide to play that. Of course, just the best pick there. Not a lot of value in the other units, the other options. So grabbing a Myexna because, again, we know that our end game goal is going to be sort of Divine Shield poison, something of that nature to win. And then just grabbing a gem to end on being gold efficient. Not wanting to use the golden hand to roll. Very possible to miss there, and we would have a bit of regret if that were the case. So we go against this Scabs, who is on his own way to that Divine Shield poison with the Myexna and a lot of Murlocs. However, our shield's proving to be too strong here. The golden tank putting in a lot of work, lowering a lot of health on those high health minions, and able to get there and hit on the 92% lethal on the Scabs on turn 10. We see 3 more people die. This is very good. So we have now lethaled 3 of them. 2 more die to Hooktusk and Bran, heroes that we were very concerned of from the start in that double token lobby. Like I said, able to high roll. We see some gems. We see a Murzon. The Necrolite's going to be nice for us to move some of the gems that we've invested in this Ground Shaker onto one of our shields so that they can better contest buffed up Murlocs, which is our main concern right now. Again, trying to play our value first, if possible, grabbing our gems so that we can get as many stats moved over with the Necrolite, not too worried about the sort of last irrelevant units attack And of course that is going to be the reanimating Rattler, as we do have a Myexna that we picked up on board, and so we get to reborn that with the Alakir hero power, leading with that Myexna, able to give it Divine Shield, and we're feeling very good for this fight with a really nice setup. Deciding to adjust our positioning, and this is a big deal because we want those Divine Shields to have the most relevant attack. This Ground Shaker is probably not going to be in for the long term, or potentially not in for the long term, and so just making sure to consolidate those arm buffs as much as possible onto those Divine Shields, which are going to be much more relevant in the long term. We have 100% win here. We're feeling very good about it. Again, the Divine Shields being that counter to the poison, we see that Spore go straight into the Bronze Warden again, and we're feeling very good about that. Of course, Brain is at 37, so we're not able to lethal them this turn. But we do 16 and make our way to that point. Now we get a turn against the Ghost. This is going to be a turn that we try and do as much as possible to transition towards what we feel is going to be our legitimate end game. We pass up on the module, not able to get that much value out of it with no extra mix that we really want to shield. The tank is probably still a little bit too strong to put a shield and make it vulnerable to getting attacked into. However, we do find some gems and a Sephin, which is going to be very interesting because, again, we know that poison is going to be needed to face off against these Bran Hook Tusk boards that are going to be very strong for our next few fights, and probably a lot of health on the Murlocs. We decide to roll because we do have gold, and so maybe we find something that we would rather end on. We don't, however, so we'll play our gems, get the most value out of our Mutinous hero power, going under a shield, very great, and then just ending on the Tidehunter, because that can potentially be another Murloc for our Sephin to poison next turn. Positioning it behind our arm just to try and increase the odds that we do proc that Sephin Avenge for that extra poison on our board. Rafam's Ghost looking pretty similar to how it did before. That Hydra very far back. We're okay with it, as it does mean that we will win this fight. With the Mummy dying in time to proc that Sephin, and the poison goes, and so does this Ghost. As we move into the final fight, it's either going to be a Hook Tusk or Bran. The Hook Tusk does lethal the Bran, and so we kind of expect they're going to have that exact comp that we talked about, poison end game. That's what was going to beat the Bran in that situation. We take the pair of Ground Shakers, knowing that, okay, if we can put as much attack as possible onto there, maybe that's something. We consider if a gem is enough. We decide it is, and then we see a bit more for us to play. We look at our Primal Fin, find another Sephin. That's definitely going to be the pick. Rolling our Primal Fin for 4 drops, just in case we do hit that Ground Shaker triple. Unfortunately, we do not, so the duo is going to be a Cell. We'll play through our gem, end up grabbing this Necrolite, making sure we're not crazy. Playing the gem after a little bit of consideration on if there's things that we want to buff. We're going to keep the gems on the Shaker because we don't really get that many buffs out of moving them onto one of the shields, and instead would rather get the attack just to play around potentially anything with high health. And as the Hook Tusk here has a Golden Parrot, Golden Baron combo, that does seem prudent. We see some nice, sort of breakpoints for our big shields able to work enough of that health down so that the tank can finish the job. And we have a 91% with the poisons left. As long as they connect in the right order, we're good, and they do. And that is our perfect game on Panda. Basically, playing through the full game with that knowledge of what that end game was going to be in this meta is a huge advantage, and we were able to take advantage of that and capitalize in this Master Win game for a Spicy Pretzel Mustard achievement. Unfortunately, it was on our EU account, but we take it. Thank you guys for watching. If you don't already, please follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/PockyPlays. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to do more of these soon. Hopefully we will have some games that are just as fun.